Hello and welcome back to my channel. We are back with another unhaul. That was actually my very first video on this channel, which was only like 3 months ago, but we are back again because I have to do unhauls pretty frequently. My shelves are decently full behind me and I will never stop buying books. So anyway, we're just going to jump right into it. We're starting off with a bang. Really had to do some self-reflecting on if I was ever going to read this series, and I decided, you know what? I'm not. And that is the entire Mortal Instruments series by Miss Cassandra Clare. Yeah, so I own this whole box set of brand new hardbacks that have never been read. I never even attempted the first book, and this is pretty heavy. But there are many reasons for me getting rid of this series. The main one is I have too many series already that I own and that I'm, trying to read, but also I'm just getting out of my YA fantasy era. I have an entire YA shelf and I think I probably read maybe like 1 or 2 young adult fantasies a year now. Obviously, it was once upon a time, it was my favorite genre. It's what got me into reading. I was a Twilight girly. I was a Hunger Games girly, just like everybody at the time. But it just does not call to me anymore. If I'm going to read a fantasy book, I'm more than likely going to reach for an adult fantasy. And I have only really heard really good things about Cassandra Clare, but she recently came out with her first adult novel, which is not set in like this Shadowhunters world. And I think if I was going to pick up a Cassandra Clare book, it would be that one. I've heard really good things about like the Clockwork Prince trilogy and the Dark Artifices and all of that, but you have to like read this first to get to that or whatever it is. And I'm just coming to the point where I don't need to read an author's entire backlist anymore. Like, that doesn't interest me. And I've had this for probably 4 years and I've never read it, and it's taking up a lot of room on my shelves, and I'm done explaining myself. Basically, getting rid of all 6 of these was really nice to take all of them off my physical TBR, honestly, and happy to see them go. But that's the first one. Never read a Cassandra Clare book, so I'm not hating. I just am no longer interested in, doesn't call to me anymore. And then my next book is going to be The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and this was actually my most recent read. I finished it, I read it all the way through. Didn't really love it, kind of just felt pretty juvenile, if I'm honest. The characters were, I think, my age or older, like they were over 25 and they were just acting like kids, and I don't know. Not my favorite romance book, would never reread it, so it's gonna go. Another book that read recently, well actually I didn't even finish this one, I DNF'd it. The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite. Historical fiction is, or historical romance. Come to find out, I think it's my least favorite subcategory of romance. Like, I love some romantasy, I love, contemporary settings and all of that, but I think historical is my least fave, and heard really good things about this one, but I didn't even finish it. So going to let it go to somebody who hopefully will enjoy it. Another romance that I didn't finish, The Receiver of Many by Rachel Alexander. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I got decently far. I think I got I can tell because I bend my books like this, exactly where I ended was on chapter 20, which is page 342, and I was this far from the end. Did not care to finish it. Like, I just think I didn't care. And then next up, these two go together. Finley Donovan is Killing It and Finley Donovan Knocks Him Dead. Read this one, 2 stars, I think. Didn't love the main character, Finley, and she's kind of like the whole series. So I did buy the second book before ever reading the first one. Classic. The next couple of books are all the exact same reason. They are young adult that I bought years ago that I no longer have the interest in reading. So first one is The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis. I heard really good things about this at the time that I bought it. Was really excited to read it, and then it has been sitting on my shelf collecting dust for years and years. So going to get rid of it and hopefully give it to somebody who will actually like it and want to read it. Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I heard such good things about this one, especially from Chloe Bunny on YouTube in like her young adult era when she was reading a lot of young adult as well. And you know, there's some YouTubers you just watch a recommendation. If they love a book, you're like, I'll read it. And at the time that I bought this, I was reading a whole bunch of young adult, but again, just no longer intrigues me anymore. I think this is the start of a series as well, the first book in a series, and I just don't want to get started on another young adult series, if I'm honest. And this one is kind of hard to get rid of for me because of how gorgeous this cover is. This is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and I just love this edition. I think there was other editions that were white, and I got the one that was black. I think she's gorgeous. She has gorgeous end papers. I just love the black, gold, silver aesthetic of it. But you can't keep books because they have pretty covers. I mean, you can. I mean, do whatever the hell you want. But for me, I need to let it go. Again, it's been years, and have I ever had the inkling to like pick it up? No, like literally, I'm just like, you know, I'll be scanning my shelves for my next read and my eyes will always pass over this one. I never want to pick it up. So, goodbye. Next one is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I'm pretty sure in my last unhaul, I got rid of her other book that I had. This one is about Vikings, which love some Vikings, but again, if I'm going to pick up a Viking book, I'll just pick up one of the ones that I have on my adult fantasy shelf. You're not gonna see me picking up this little young adult. And also I have like one of the editions where the wording, the title is not in the middle, it's kind of on the edge of the spine, so it's not even very pretty on my shelves. And also I just don't want to read it. I mean, I have a lot of books like this where the dust jacket was folded wrong, and I still own them and love them, so it's not my only reason for getting rid of this. Next one, another DNF for me. So I did try to read The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. I've decided Paul Tremblay is not an author for me. I read his most popular novel, The Cabin at the End of the World, I'm pretty sure, and a lot of people like that one. Books and Lala really likes that one. Like a lot of booktubers who I like have read that and loved it, but I had that book, read it, and unhauled that one years ago as well. And then I heard good things about this one, and I was like, let's just give him another try, and that was a mistake. I just don't think he's the author for me. Sorry to Mr. Paul Tremblay, but I just don't really like his writing, so that's fine. I don't have to love every author. The next one, my last DNF of this video, it is Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dishknov. Sorry to these people's name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. But yes, I got a decent chunk of the way through this one. And I DNF'd it because I didn't care about it. It was a dark academia. This one is an adult fantasy that I tried to read earlier this year and just didn't interest me. Couldn't get through it, so going to let it go. And also I found out that I'm pretty sure there's a sequel. Hate when books do that. You think it's a standalone and then it's like, no, actually it's a sequel. It's like, stop it, I have too many sequels I have to read already. Like, unless I'm obsessed with it and it's 5 stars, then I always want a sequel, but it's specific circumstances. And then my last one, or my last 4 actually, are going to be all of my unread Leigh Bardugo that I own. So I do have the Six of Crows duology on my shelf that I've read and I love. Those books are so good. And I read those books and I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick up the rest of Leigh Bardugo because I love them and I want to read her. And that was years ago and I have not picked these up yet. So the Grishaverse trilogy, is Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. I have heard that these are okay, but they're not as good as Six of Crows. And if I'm honest to myself, I would rather just reread Six of Crows. I mean, I own that duology. I loved it. And I think the next time I want to like pick up a fantasy book and love it, I'm going to do a reread because I want to reread the Cruel Prince trilogy as well. And, you know, sometimes you can just like a duology of an author and you don't have to buy all of their backlist because, you know, I'm not going to read it. So why did I buy these? For nothing, I guess, just to sit on my shelves for years and be unread. Like, this is another one, didn't even try. I definitely didn't even try this one because you have to read all of these, the duology, and then this. And I was like, okay, well, I want to reread Six of Crows, so I'll reread these so I can read Six of Crows and do all that and da-da-da. And I'm like, no. If you want to reread Six of Crows, just reread Six of Crows and get rid of these books that you're not interested in and people say are worse than the duology that you already love. Does that make sense? But yeah, that is the end of my unhaul. I wasn't even planning on doing an unhaul very soon because I just like, you know, as I've been reading books and not liking them, I always have like a little unhaul pile in my closet until it gets big enough to have to donate it. But yesterday I was looking at my shelves and I noticed that my romance shelves were bursting at the seams, and I actually have some books on the way to my house right now and some of them are romance. I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna put them. But then I realized that I had a lot of fantasy romance on my shelves, and I was like, you know what, my adult fantasy, this bottom shelf was pretty empty, so I just took the books that were on that shelf and I put them other places and I cleared up this bottom one and I made it just a romantasy shelf. I guess I could show you. But these three shelves right here are my romance shelves, and they are pretty open now. But before, I had like a vertical stack here, a vertical stack here, and like this one was facing in and they were just really, really full. So I took off all of the romance books that had a fantasy element to it, and I made a little romantasy shelf on my adult fantasy shelf. So now there's room to grow on here. It didn't even fill a whole shelf, but I have room to grow on here. I have more room for romance books. Once I moved those around, it just prompted me to take a hard look at my young adult shelves, and I just started pulling some stuff off that I'm no longer interested in. I think that is, well, I know that is the easiest genre for me to unhaul, because before doing this video, I did take a look at my other shelves. I looked at my horrors and my thrillers, and I looked at my historical fiction. Like, I looked at all of my shelves, and it's hard for me to unhaul a book if I haven't even tried to read it. That's why a lot of my unhauls are books that I've like DNF'd, or I've read the book and I gave it 2 stars. Because if I gave it 2 stars, I'm clearly not going to want to reread it. So I can get rid of it and I'm not going to have any hard feeling. Or if I DNF'd it, I didn't even finish it. So like, clearly I don't want to own it. So those are really easy to get rid of. But if I haven't even tried to read the book and I've spent my money on it, then I'm like, it's harder to get rid of them. But it is just my easiest genre to get rid of because it's almost my biggest genre that I own and probably one of my least read. Anyway, that is my unhaul for you today. Thank you for coming along and letting me show you the books I'm getting rid of. But I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.